Hey YouTube, I'm Jack. This is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you're all having a nice day out there, whatever day it is when this comes out. I've done more videos this week than I've been doing, so I'm not quite sure when this one's going to come out. But what I want to talk about today is the best transition to a raw food diet, and it's easy as well. Guys, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you would go down right now and hit that big red subscribe button and then click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. I touched on 2 days, or not 2 days ago, but 2 videos ago, I touched on the subject of detox, if you remember that last week. And I talked about detox and I touched on the subject of transition during that one and got a question or two that I thought like, okay, well, I'll just like talk about the transition part of it a little bit more. And why I call it the best transition to a raw food diet, just I'll even tell you, I'll let the cat out of the bag ahead of time. It's not like I've got some big method that this is the way that you have to do it, but it's a little bit more subjective. The best way transition to a raw food diet can be different for different people, because the best transition to a raw food diet is the one that actually works for you, that you're actually going to do. A lot of people will talk about theoretically, intellectually transitioning and whether one should do it quickly or slowly or whatever. And a lot of times there'll be pushback from people that have never transitioned. So if you've never transitioned and it's never worked on you, I'm sorry, you don't really have much to weigh in. You don't really get an opinion on that. So if it works for you, it's a good transition. If it doesn't, it doesn't. The biggest thing I like, and another thing too, this isn't like a step-by-step or a program type thing. This is more the psychological. Because most of the transition or how you do it or getting off of cooked food or getting off of animal products or whatever is up here. It's how you set your mind, but it's also more the method and more how you do it than, just the actual nuts and bolts. One thing I've talked about, if you've watched enough of my videos and have been around for a while, you've probably heard me say this. I always like the idea of moving forward. I've seen people over the years and they're constantly back and forth, two-step, even if it's two-step forward and one-step back, yeah, you're still ahead, but there's just so much psychological unrest and people start getting down on themselves. I just don't like back and forth. I don't like back and forth. And back and forth happens a lot because people get a little cocky. Well, I can do it. I can do this overnight. I can transition quickly. It gets to ego where I don't even understand that, because this is like about doing something that's healthy, that's good for our body. So it doesn't matter how fast you're transitioning, but always be moving forward. ABF, always be moving forward. In other words, like, maybe you're not transitioning as fast as somebody out there online that you're watching on YouTube or people in your Facebook groups are talking about, but that's okay. You need to pick a rate to transition that's comfortable for you and that you can keep moving forward. You might be walking slow. Let's say, we were going to take a 26-mile walk. Let's say we had to go 26 miles, a marathon. There's guys out there that can run marathons. There's some people that can run that marathon in 3 hours and some change. And then there's other people that they might, walk 6 miles a day. But if you kept walking that 6 miles a day or 7 miles or whatever it is, you would get there. You would still get to that same destination. And when we're talking about food, when we're talking about this raw food diet, is there this huge hurry? Or unless, like I said, the other day in that detox video, unless you've got some serious health issue that if you don't clean your diet immediately, you might die. It's just more important to get to something that you can sustain. It's about sustainability. And the reason so many people go back and forth, they have a problem, they struggle with their transitions and never get on solid ground, is because their body is lacking nutrition. Their body is lacking nutrition all along those steps of transitioning. Sometimes people want to go super hard, like, oh, I'm going to go do some juice fast, or I'm going to do some island where I only mono eat this one fruit, and your body's not really, is not really ready for that. And also, too, you're not getting you're not getting all the nutrition when you're doing things like that, and you're not used to this lifestyle, and your body's just crying out for it's number one, it's crying out for the things that it's that it's used to having. It's crying out for the bad stuff, but it's also crying out for the good stuff. That's why there's a lot of people that on this lifestyle, they're never satisfied. Their hunger is never satisfied, no matter how much they eat, because they're not getting the nutrients that they need in their body. And that's something important that people don't talk about enough, is that you can be getting an adequate amount of calories and still not be satisfied, because yes, our hunger, our fullness needs to be satisfied, but also our nutritional needs when we're eating food. Like, that's, if you notice that's why you can eat junk food. That's why you can just scarf junk food down and eat as much of it as possible, because you're not getting any nutrition. Your body cries out for that nutrition when it's not getting it. I can kind of notice the light changing there. I'm sitting right next to a window. So they tend to fail because they're lacking something. People are constantly hungry. Listen, so many people, and I'm not going to try to segue off of talking about transition, but I'll just talk about this lifestyle in general. So many people fail. Excuse me, that's not a COVID cough. So many people fail on a raw food diet, but so many people fail even simply being vegan or being plant-based because they're not feeding their body the nutrition. And then that's when that bullshit, sometimes people will come in, especially ethical people, and, well, it's not about what you're eating, or it's not about the nutrition. But in a way it is, because if your body cannot sustain doing a vegan lifestyle long term, or doing a plant-based diet long term, then if these people that eventually have to, and then they have their come to Jesus moment, and they do a video, and it's like, I'm no longer vegan, and they give you these excuses. Well, I just was feeling like this and I'm feeling like that. You weren't getting nutrition. Almost every one of these ex-vegans, and even the people that were gung-ho raw and either went way back in their whole food plant-based diet journey, or whether they went back to eating animal products, they were never eating properly. There's some big names out in the YouTube world that have bounced, that if you looked at their food, okay, they might have been cute, they might have been pretty, they may have been charismatic, but if you actually looked at what they were eating, you were like, well, no wonder they never made it. But then it gets spun like it's being vegan, it's the fault because they were vegan or because they were plant-based, and it's like, no, you were just eating a bad version of this lifestyle. So it's all about just constantly moving forward, having a plan, but not my plan. In other words, I don't need to write out a plan for you or a program for you. It's about you setting up a plan and finding what's comfortable for you. Now, we'll throw this one out again too. This is something else that people that have watched my channel for a long time will know. I was talking about doing it one time, and I just kind of lost interest because people, I don't know, I just kind of lost interest in it because people just don't get the process part of it. All they want is like, okay, this is what you eat. This is exactly what you eat. But basically I was like, okay, just do it in increments, whatever's comfortable for you. Like I was talking about the other day, let's say you're already whole food plant-based. The first month you eat raw until noon. You eat raw until noon, that's it. And then you eat plant-based the rest of the day. The second month, you eat raw till dinner, and then whatever plant-based for dinner. And then the third month, you could stretch that out 5 months, or you could do it in the third month. And then the third month, you eat fully raw. Or if you need the training wheels on a little bit longer, in the third month, you eat fully raw 3 days a week. In the fourth month, you eat fully raw 5 days a week. In the fifth month, you eat fully raw 7 days a week. What's the big deal about 5 months? I know that doesn't sound sexy. I know that doesn't sound exciting, especially when everybody in your groups are telling you, oh, you can do it overnight, and you can do a juice feast and a fast, and you can be vibrating and all that kind of stuff. But listen, I'm an old man. I'm always going to be about just practical, just putting one foot in front of the other, and getting it done. So anyhow, just kind of reiterating my thoughts on transition that I've probably talked about 20, 30 times before in the past. But hope you guys enjoyed this one today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again in a few days. Peace.